channel. In this video, we are diving into the Hera Goddess Archetype, Queen and Partner in Power. If you don't know anything about the Goddess Archetypes, watch my video linked here that will give you an overview as to how they can support you. But for now, let's dive into the Hera Archetype. Okay, so we have Hera. She is the Queen of Authority, and she has a commanding presence. She stands out in a crowd. She is acutely aware of her position in society, and she likes to take that role of being a leader. And we normally see her in older women where her authority and dignity shine through. Truly does not care what anyone thinks. And she has like that queen kind of energy, and she's really traditional, so she upholds family traditions. She's most at ease with a whole party at her home with her family there. She loves to host, and that's just when she feels her best, when everyone is around. And she finds herself on planning boards, receptions, country clubs, where she's in that leadership role, and she can use her organizational skills. And even if she has a partner or not, Hera is the role of the kind of matriarch in her friendship circle and her community. And when she's married, as I mentioned, she's very traditional. So she wants to have a traditional marriage. She wants to uphold her husband's role in society too. So she's drawn to powerful men in that way. And she really, really wants to hold power in equal measure to men. And I'll talk a bit about like some of the challenges around that, but she will want to be like an equal to her partner. And if he's a man, if they're heterosexual, but she can become resentful if she sees him out in the world and succeeding in business, and she may not feel like she's taken seriously. That's her wound. And she'll kind of like try and insert herself in those positions if she doesn't have a natural way of her own to lead. So she has a drive to prominence, whatever social group she's in, social class, and she has this impulse to rule, and she just is really comfortable with her power. And some examples that we see in society are the First Lady Nancy Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and Abigail Adams. And so think about those women and how they were comfortable leading, being in power. And her wound, as I mentioned, has to do with her envy. And this goes back to Hera and Zeus. In the Greek goddess archetype and god archetype, Zeus had his freedom to exert his influence in the world. And deep down, Hera wants that too. And she can sometimes view her husband as an obstacle because she has this patriarchal wound of knowing she can be powerful, she can lead, but feeling as if that's not possible. And from what I learned in this book, that Goddess Within, that the issue can also stem when Hera has a daughter. Because as I mentioned, Hera is the older generation. So if she has a daughter right now in our current modern world, she can become very resentful if she sees her daughter out there succeeding in business, being in power, maybe leading her own business. And she'll be thinking in that old kind of wounded way of like, oh, I don't get those opportunities. I didn't have that in my time. And that's kind of a huge issue with a lot of women that I see in the work that I do. And it's just, and maybe you also have experienced that as well, but it's like this resentment of not having the same opportunities. And the wound as well is perfection and powerlessness. So you can see when the wound is coming up, when there's a lot of self-criticism, criticism of others. It shows up a lot in, say, the workplace, if there is someone with Hera archetype, and it's just like this strive for perfection over everything else. And it can be detrimental when it's, not leading to great relations. If it's perfection to a fault, like it's not even really allowing for growth and creativity. And the powerlessness that I touched on becomes an issue when Hera only focuses on her family arena as her sole expression of her ambitions. And chaos often ensues, and a family doesn't really benefit from that and can feel like they're all being ruled by Hera. So another issue is over-identification with marriage, family, and supporting her husband's career can leave her feeling frustrated and constrained. So maybe you recognize this in yourself, maybe you recognize this with others, but there's benefits to Hera, of course. And in order to embrace Hera's power within yourself, Hera's lesson is really to find wholeness within herself and to know that she can challenge men on equal terms and share power rather than seeking to dominate or be dominated, overcoming that patriarchal wound. And she needs to find a balance and not lose herself in her relationships and let that define her worth solely in these roles of wife and mother. And I just see that myself. I've embraced Hera to be more in my leadership and comfort and owning power. So you might be able to benefit from that as well. And it's really like a maturity, I would say, to be in a healthy Hera archetype. And in order to overcome some of those weaknesses, there's different goddesses that she can embody to get support, and same with you. So some opposing goddesses to embody are Aphrodite, and they'll help her be more present, connected to her body, and leading from a place of love. And Athena, who is really on equal playing terms in the career arena and the world arena with men, and has this like detached approach to power. It's very like logical, and she's confident in her wisdom and her intellect, and isn't like letting her emotions rule her, which Hera can easily do. And so those are some of the goddesses that can help. So that is Hera. So be sure to watch the goddess overview video linked here so you'll know all the goddesses to learn about, because each one is complementary to each other. So take the quiz linked in this description to find out which goddess you are currently strongest in. And then you'll also find out which goddess is your complementary goddess to help balance out these stronger energies of the dominant goddess. And you'll also receive a beautiful guide to connecting to your goddess, as well as a Pinterest aesthetic board with visuals, rituals, and really the symbols that evoke this goddess, so you can connect with her, feel her support, feel her energy, help you move through these challenging transitions that you experience. And be sure to stay tuned for the other goddesses coming out, and then you can learn about each goddess in a single video. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in my next video.